Give me a target. Our ballista, your command. Armor won't save them. One bolt I need. Give me a target.
If the ring won't come off, just take the whole finger.
Our ballista, your command. Armor won't save.
Your Grace, the charts say we near Tusley.
Angren renders charts helpless to show the way, I fear. Soon we...
Sensing a limp in her mount's gait, Meve ordered the column to halt. There was a thorn in her mare's hoof, burrowing deeper with every step. The horse whinnied and pulled her leg away, but Meve knew how to calm her. She stroked the mare's cheek, whispered slow words in her ear. She then extracted the thorn without difficulty.
I'm sorry to interrupt,
said the druid from behind Meve's back.
Yet this is where our paths diverge. We've a modest gift to thank you for the road shared, and for your aid at the obelisk to the marsh gods.
Meve wished to respond, but the druids had turned toward the woods, their satchels slung over their shoulders. The queen waited till they were out of sight to open the bundle. Their gift was by no means modest.
The trees no longer wish us here. They call for someone else.
Meve and the horseman beside her exchanged a perplexed glance. They'd heard the song clearly, both its tune and its verse. Whoever had hollered it had to be close, and given their diction, rather well oiled. Moments later, a hamlet appeared to the Lyrians' tired eyes. A great bonfire blazed at its center. Around it danced peasants, barefoot, giggling, hooting, joyful and carefree. One by one, they noticed the queen. Soon, all were silent, huddled together, children peering from behind their backs.
Fear not,
said Meve.
We mean you no harm. What do you celebrate? A lad's grooming? Nuptials?
Nay, my lady. Hell yes. The gods have been kind.
Filled us nets and snares with game. Come time we thank them.
Yes. You've things to be thankful for.
We do, my lady. And we's poor folk. So a queen. Well, you must as well. Your Majesty, stay tonight, feast with us. There'll be music and plenty of rum by the fire.
Why not?
began Meave, daintily dismounting.
We all deserve some respite, I suppose.
The Lyrians needed no convincing. With astonishing haste, they removed mail and helmets, then eagerly joined in the feting and dance. Amidst the trilling of flutes, fifes, and fiddles, all those gathered revelled until dawn. They could rest at last, forget about Nilfgaard and the many beasts that prowled among the reeds. They'd long remember that night, the carefree laughter, peasant maids whirling in dance, the ale cold as a mountain spring, and the bread they crisped over the fire. One exchange in particular etched itself into the Queen's mind, an exchange she overheard.
Not a little? Not even a teeny tiny bit?
I'll say it again. It's not your concern.
Of course it's not. Wouldn't be so damn curious if it were. So be it. Keep your silence. But those eyes like the summer sky, that hair like waves of grain. I see the way you gape.
What do you two speak of?
Your Majesty.
Couldn't have answered that better myself.
Who does Reynard gape at?
Ha! The new ballista, what else? Ah, what a piece of work. Pure art, I say. Can't tear your eyes away for an instant.
Haven't you two held enough from me already? Don't play me for a fool. What's this about?
Meave, honestly, you do better to...
It's a private matter, Your Grace. One of the heart, you might say. If you'd allow it, I'd rather not share the details of our conversation.
All right. I'll leave you to discuss whatever men discuss. Consider me gone.
Meave turned and walked back to the fire, sat down on an old stump,
Ha! That was close. Shh!
and the faintest of smiles crossed her lips. Meave expected the villagers to request recompense for their welcome, yet the peasants made not the slightest mention of coin, and the Queen was much moved by their kindness. Once again, those with the least had proved the most willing to share. The Lyrians did not assemble come the morn. The force marched off in the afternoon, unshaven, unbathed, dishevelled. Not normally one to overlook contempt for discipline, that day Meave understood even soldiers needed to let their guard down, at times. In Angren's swamps, one can easily lose one's way. Thick fog fills the air, paths end without warning, dense thickets obscure the distance. The sole way to determine one's position is to climb a tree and peer out over the canopy. This duty fell to Meave's scouts, while the force halted below. During one such delay, Meave caught the words she'd longed to hear.
Majesty! Tuzla Castle! Its tower! I see it!
To her soldiers' astonishment, Meave cast off her gauntlets and started up the nearest trunk. She longed to see the castle for herself, but then she would know sweet vengeance was at hand. The climb proved tricky, as the trunk was slippery and the branches, run through with rot, were frail. Yet Meave showed herself to be skillful and spry. As a child, she had loved to scale trees, much to her governess' dismay. Meave looked out to see a mighty stone tower outlined against the horizon. Legend holds Tuzla Castle was to have had 3 such bastions. Yet King Ragbard, the fort's benefactor, had forsaken the effort when yet another stone transport simply sank into Angren's boggy roads. It was a moment of respite for Meve, a moment of quiet joy. She breathed and tasted air free of the bog stench. She took in silence undisturbed by the hum of mosquito swarms. And she relished her prospects. The coming battle against Caldwell. The soldiers stood exhausted and filthy, many with raspy coughs, all sick of the meager gruel. But with the command to advance, a new strength sparked within them. Their step was lively, a fire burned in their eyes, each hoping to spill Caldwell's entrails, then dash them upon the fort walls. Yet as they drew near the stronghold, perched atop a stone isle, their verve dwindled, enthusiasm waned. They had taken fortresses with thicker walls, taller towers, and manned by more men. Yet they'd never seen nor laid siege to a fort standing on land so ill-suited. To rush the bulwarks through waist-deep mud. Was this even possible?
Prove I was no fool to keep you at my side.
Said Meve, turning to Gascon and Reynard.
A slaughter I must avoid. How will I do it?
Your Grace,
Began Reynard.
set our machines to sling boulders. At the west wall, it's weakest. 'Tis our best chance at a breach.
Our men will need cover.
Added Gascon.
Reeds we must harvest and burn. Smoke will cloak us, conceal us from the castle's defenders.
Good.
Agreed the Queen.
Now get to work.
Amidst billowing blue smoke, Lyrian footmen rushed through the breach wrought by Reynard's catapults. Though she had yet to forgive her companions, Meve had to admit they'd given her sound advice.
Caldwell, I've come for your head.
I knew you'd come. Your lofty pride presages another dramatic fall.
Enough chit-chat. Draw your weapon.
Life is mine now.
My pain serves a purpose.
Cursed traitors.
This could hurt.
There's a time to reap, a time to sow, and a time to die. Aye.
Wise choice.
Should have listened to me old lady. Their archers shouldn't be any more trouble.
We must trust each other. We must exploit the breach in their fortifications, Your Grace.
John. For the Queen! God save the Queen!
No one touch him! The Count is mine!
Many of Maeve's victories have been immortalized in poetry and song, but not the fall of Tuzla. Lyrians fought Lyrians. Brothers killed brothers, in rain and mud midst a cursed swamp. Certainly nothing to inspire a bard. Near the battle's end, Maeve stormed the great stone tower to which Caldwell had fled. The Queen ascended the stairs, dealing blow after blow, blood cascading down in her wake. She reached the top floor to find the Count waiting, with no intention to defend himself.
If it's mercy you expect, you'll be sorely disappointed.
Mercy? I know you all too well for that, Maeve. Ever vindictive and cruel.
All this from a paragon of knightly virtues. You stabbed me in the back, Caldwell, and used Willem to do so. My son!
Who agreed without a moment's hesitation? Forsaken by your own soul, your flesh and blood. What's that say about you?
Oh, you tread on thin ice. Choose your next words carefully.
Spare me your threats. You'll kill me all the same.
Death can come in many ways, Count. Some quick, some slow.
My, how you strut and vaunt. Terribly sure of yourself. Perhaps too sure.
Your castle is mine. I've crushed your force. I dare say no, I'm not.
Precisely my point. Don't you see? The Empire's not one army, it's dozens, hundreds. It's what I strove to knock into that thick dome of yours. Alas, you're too much a dullard. Soon as I'd learned you'd crossed into Angren, I sent for reinforcements. They'll be here soon. 3 regiments, armed to the teeth.
Nilfgaardians seem ever to have the upper hand, yet I find the means to defeat them.
Not this time, Maeve. Nilfgaard comes in numbers, 10 Imperial footmen to each and every one of yours. You'll not win, nor can you flee. Do you know why?
Enlighten me. I dare you.
But one bridge leads to Tuzla. As it happens, I ordered it raised as you laid siege. The swamps around the castle are too deep to cross. Try to rebuild the bridge, the Imperial troops will arrive before you can finish. Your men they'll slay as you watch, and then they'll wring your neck.
I wouldn't be so pleased were I you. You won't live to see this outcome.
I know that, but I take heart in the truth. Though the castle you've seized and will likely kill me, I've won. Outsmarted you, Meave. Twice now. And you know what? 'Twasn't even that hard.
With those words, with his arrogance and contempt, Caldwell had gone too far. The Queen gripped his shoulders, pushed. Caldwell stumbled backwards, then tripped out the window. A blood-chilling shriek filled the courtyard, then broke off abruptly.
Now fool me thrice. Try.
Meave slapped the dust from her hands. The traitor had met a deserving end at last. Yet this was no time to revel in the Count's demise. If Caldwell had spoken the truth, the Queen and her army were in grave danger. Meave's scouts quickly confirmed the traitor's claim. The bridge was indeed in flames, and Nilfgaardian regiments were advancing from the south. Now to confirm if there was truly no other route by which they could flee. The Queen ordered her men to ask the local peasants. One of their number, a stable hand who'd lived near Tuzla all his life, claimed a secret path led out the back of the stronghold.
King Ragbard himself ordered it built. Had him drop great stones into its swamp, one after another, like beads on a string. Bitter water covers them, so you can't see nowt at start. Can make 'em out if you go proper slow, though.
What is it?
The stones, they lead to Isgith. And there, my lady, lurks an evil worse nor any black-clad army.
What? A beast of some sort?
Some say beast, others god. Gurnikora, they call her. And you'll yet see, my lady. Isgith shines red with her blood.
A silly tale to frighten children, Meave thought at first. Then paused. For something about the man's voice made his every word believable.
None too encouraging, yet preferable to certain death. Tell me, from Isgith, will we reach the banks of the Yaruga, near Red Lobendon perchance?
Aye, your majesty. You need but head north. And pray all along the way.
Soon, Meave stood where the stable hand had said she should, at the edge of a vast marsh. Carefully, she dipped a foot into the broth and probed for solid ground. Sure enough, she found stone. One cautious step, then another. Meave slowly strode off towards Isgith. With the path to Isgith hidden from view, Meave proceeded like one blind, moving solely by touch. With each step, she could not know if she would find rock or plunge beneath the black water's surface. The Queen's soldiers followed single file, carefully mirroring her every move. The Lyrians, near the end of their strength, got lucky when a light breeze dispersed the fog to reveal dry land. The Queen let out a sigh of relief.
At last.
Meave kicked off her boots to empty them of water and mud, then promptly screamed.
Ah!
Her legs were in leeches, slimy, bloated leeches. Ignoring the pain and trickling blood, she frantically tore them from her legs, wishing to be rid of them. Having plucked the last parasite from her calf, Meave grabbed her boot to crush the bloodsucker beneath her heel. Yet it had already slithered off. She spotted it on the trunk of a birch where, like a very fast snail, it was climbing.
What the devils?
But Meave's words caught in her throat. Leeches and ticks in the dozens dangled from the tree's branches. Some were so gorged on blood that their skin was translucent and on the point of bursting. Meave had some difficulty muting the urge to retch. The Queen stepped back, finding it hard to believe what hung before her eyes, confused as to what it all meant.
I live to serve you. Get it to work.
Waiting for a personal invitation?
This could hurt.
I saw them. No other way.
Her Majesty is exceptional. Watch your heads!
Not supposed to be any smoke.
Without hesitation.
Should have listened to the old lady. This harvest will be reaping black-clad heads. There's a time to reap, a time to sow, and a time to die.
Water is a poison.
Coin never stinks, no matter how rank the pouch.
A knight should help. Our codex commands it.
One bullet's all I need. Give me a target. Arbalist at your command. One bullet's all I need. Give me a target. Arbalist at your command.
I only used 4 pieces, except sometimes they're quite fresh.
You can try to win them all, but you won't.
Can't take it anymore.
Bigger they are, easier they are to target.
I only loot corpses. Except sometimes they're quite fresh.
Got any victuals? Hungry like a wolf, I am.
Thing about slings, they hide well.
Can use this. Not sure for what just yet, but...
You can try to win them all, but you won't.
Hey?
Can't take it anymore.
Gonna need 3 buckets of nails and a tub full of pegs.
Got any victuals? Hungry like a wolf, I am.
The Lyrians marched in silence, too tired to keep in step with the drums. Suddenly, the wind rose to a howl, and there was a loud crash of thunder.
Blast!
Niamh leapt from her saddle.
We camp here. Pitch the tents, quickly, quickly.
As the soldiers rushed to unload the wagons, a wall of water came down, soaking them to the bone. Later, they sat in their leaky tents, huddled, teeth chattering, violent coughs rocking their frames. The storm raged the night through, then finally passed before dawn. Niamh emerged from her tent to wring out her coat. Reynard approached, his gait heavy, his face grim.
Your Majesty, several men of the 11th, a dozen or so, sought to flee last night. Sentries stopped and bound them. Now they await your judgment.
Maeve fastened her still wet coat. She knew well why the men had tried to desert. They longed for their kin, had lost sight of victory, perhaps even no longer believed. Yet the marching and fighting seemed destined to go on forever. The Queen sympathized. She too was spent, and many doubts plagued her. Yet she knew the deserters had to be punished. The question was, to what extent? Maeve entered the tent where the prisoners stood. Some of the men looked away, ashamed at their deed. Others raised their gazes to meet hers, their eyes red, tearful, pleading.
You all know the penalty for desertion.
Maeve said to the soldiers bound at wrist and foot.
I ought to have every last one of you hanged. Yet, we've come far along a treacherous road. Endured hardships extreme. This I considered against your crime. You shall lose rank and receive no pay for 1 year. Now get out of my sight. Immediately!
The deserters mumbled their gratitude and rushed out of the tent, fearing the Queen might yet change her mind. Maeve then left for her quarters, anger and bitterness eating her up from the inside.
Gods, have we passed the very threshold into hell?
Close ranks. None is to step off the path without clear orders to do so.
There's a time to reap, a time to sow, and a time to die.
Fear not. We shall achieve our goal. I smell a leak. All right, that's no problem.
Oh, saw them! No other way!
Aye.
I fear not, for faith guides me.
Should have listened to me old lady.
You mad? Don't shake that!
Cursed traitors.
I think you'll really like this one.
I live to serve you. Naturally. At once.
My spirit's willing and how, but...
We must trust each other.
This could hurt.
Feel any burning? See a local healer or wise woman.
There's a time to reap, a time to sow, and a time to die.
Oh, could murder a pint.
Aye. Should have listened to me old lady.
Yes?
Sod it. Sod it all.
What do you want of me?
This harvest will be reaping black-clad heads.
Water is a poison.
God's blessings. My breastplate chafes.
While accustomed to life mid swamp monsters and black magic, Angren's denizens never dared enter Isgith. The Lyrians only once saw signs of a human presence there when they spotted a group of thatched-roof huts amongst alders.
That settlement, is it inhabited?
Meve asked, turning to her scouts.
Impossible to say from this distance, Your Grace.
The Lyrians entered the village, swords in hand, prepared to fight. But not a soul nor a beast came forth. Some homes had collapsed from rot, while tall grass concealed the paths between them. Yet, someone had been there not long past, for fresh ghoul cadavers lay by the well. Meve knelt beside the corpse of one cut clear in half. The beast's killer had been exceptionally strong, and wielded a razor-sharp sword.
More are likely to come around.
Meve leapt to her feet. A man in thick leather armor had emerged from one of the huts. Transfixed by his cat eyes, the Queen nonetheless sensed he was rather badly hurt.
Were that true, my scouts would have blown their horns.
The man pulled out a pendant shaped like a bear's head. It hummed and twitched as if striving to free itself of its chain.
Far as monsters go,
he said, lips curling into an unpleasant smile.
Witchers aren't usually wrong.
A moment later, a scream pierced the air. Quickly, instinctively, Meve drew her sword and lunged forth.
They approach! Seems you were right.
There's a time to reap, a time to sow, and a time to die.
I feel a strong magic here, my lady. Something controls these creatures.
The unworthy shall be punished.
Should have listened to me old lady.
Watch your heads!
For you, pal! Anything! That'll be the last of them. Should be quiet for a bit.
The Lyrians emerged victorious, due in no small part to the Witcher.
Thanks for the help. Name's Ivo, Witcher, School of the Bear.
So, a godless mutant.
Ache, I shall do the talking. Meve, Queen of Lyria and Rivia.
Well, well. Didn't expect to see anyone out here. And certainly not a queen with an army in tow.
We're not here by choice.
I bet not. No one plans to pass through Isgith.
And you? What's brought you here? A contract, perchance?
That's right. Hunting a monster.
I know your services to be rather dear. Who could afford a witcher's bounty in these wretched swamps?
Nilfgaardians.
Blast, of course. Preparing the land for settlement. Cull the monsters, drain the swamp, then bring in slaves. Doubtless from the north.
Maybe. I got paid in advance. I didn't see the need to ask any questions.
But did you have to take the coin? Don't you see what they're doing?
Forgive me, your majesty, but seems to me you're confusing witchers with knights errant. We don't fight oppression, right wrongs, or avenge orphans. We slay monsters for coin. And it don't matter whose head's on the front or whose coffers it's from.
As I said, your majesty, selfish mercenaries devoid of emotion. No empathy, no justice, no code. Interested only in gold.
Downright evil to demand pay for the work you do.
This beast you're out to slay, what is it?
Hang on. You mean to tell me you've led your force into Isgith and don't even know what lives here?
I believe I was clear. We're not here by choice.
Yeah, but now that you are here, it'll take a minor miracle to get you out. Isgith's swamps, realm of a truly dangerous being. Elves call it Thronebreaker, the Bloody Mistress. Over generations, locals twisted the name until it became Guernicora.
Indeed. I've heard it.
So you've also probably seen her beloved fruit, leeches and ticks. You'd all be wise to stay away from them.
This Guernicora, what is she exactly?
Depends who you ask. Elves saw a fallen goddess in her. Never managed to cut her down while they lived here, but they did stem her growth, kept her from growing stronger. As for the local humans, spirit of a cursed princess, that's their take. Deep belief, actually.
Care to elaborate?
Stories that she was riding north to marry a Temerian duke. Whole retinue and caravan got lost, wagons got stuck, everybody drowned in the bog. Quicksand got him, that sort of thing. Guernicora grabbed a root before the quagmire swallowed her whole. Hollered for hours, but there wasn't a soul around to hear her. Leeches, hundreds covered her, settled in for a royal feast. Sucked her dry, drained her to pretty much the last drop. Fear and revulsion so completely overcame her spirit, she couldn't pass into the afterlife. So she came back, revived by Isgith's magic.
Ugh. A chilling tale.
Yeah, except made up, probably. Don't believe the elven legends either. Guernicora's a monster, plain and simple. Extremely dangerous, sure, but just a monster.
Legends oft contain a grain of truth, Your Grace. Particularly those that end in tragedy.
The leeches and ticks, you called them her fruit.
It's kinda complicated.
We've time enough.
Guernicora's a little like a vampire. They're kindred creatures. Except, instead of feasting on the blood of others, she feeds them her own.
I'm not certain I understand.
They're parasites, right? She puts them on her body, feeds them her own blood. Then hangs them on shrubs and trees.
Ugh, to what end?
To other monsters, they're delicacies. Sweet, juicy, full of Gurnakora's blood. Irresistible. Any beast that tastes that loses its mind, turns into Gurnakora's slave. So, if your paths cross and push comes to shove, she's not gonna be alone. Find yourself fighting the whole damn swamp.
How are we to fight her? How might she be killed?
Sorry, sharing secrets. Just not something we do.
Not even with those who saved your life just moments past.
We gotta wait till she starts feeding the parasites. She's weakest then. Stand a chance to hurt her.
Right. So we attack only once she puts the leeches to her skin.
Yeah. And when you kill her, if you kill her, any beasts under her spell will weaken considerably. And then, you gotta burn her corpse. I mean it, understand? Burn it.
And you? Will you not hunt her any longer?
No, I will. Just need to prepare. Realized that today. Gotta brew some potions, blade oils. Come back in a few days.
I don't even have that much time. Nilfgaard's hordes pursue us. I must march on.
In that case, wish you luck. Lots of it.
I suppose there's no argument that would persuade you to ride with us.
Your Grace, mutations strip us of emotion, not reason.
Let him go. He'll not be missed, Your Majesty. He and his ilk, they're simply not to be trusted.
The Witcher vanished midst the trees. And Meve simply hoped her soldiers had not overheard any part of their conversation. Caldwell had summoned Nilfgaardian support. Meve assumed they were not far behind. Yet in the unforgiving terrain, a full Nilfgaardian division could not hope to close the gap. Small detachments, however, light cavalry or footmen, could very well do just that. So when black-clad men emerged from the mist, the Queen was not surprised. She ordered her troops to fall in, form up, and brace to defend the line. Yet the attack never came. The invaders stood silent, motionless, and Meve got a closer look. They were slouched, ashen-faced, unsure of step, and covered in sores. Isgith had treated them as cruelly as any. Teetering in his saddle, the commander broke formation. He rode forth and addressed the Queen in fluent common tongue.
Half my men are wounded, the others sick. Your force does not fare much better.
True. Yet we outnumber you soundly.
Indeed. If it comes to combat, you are certain to win. But in this damn swamp, all wounds fester. Flesh is quick to rot. You will lose many more apart from those who fall.
What do you mean, precisely?
Asked the Queen, her eyes narrowing, her head tilted to the side.
We should part ways in peace. There's a war on, there'll be another chance to fight. Perhaps even face one another. But not here. And not like this.
Suddenly unsure, the Queen weighed the officer's words. Their logic was sound, though they could also prove a ruse.
Your Grace,
Xavier's voice came from behind Meve's back.
we can't let them pass. They've done only harm, and they'll not stop and go home.
Alas, I see things differently.
Meve said with a sly smile.
Crush you now, and I'll have fewer to fight down the line.
You seem sure of yourself, milady.
Let me show you why. At them!
Meve gave her mount a lash of her reins and charged headlong at the commander and his force.
We will not surrender without a fight! Life is mine now!
You'll never take me alive!
Don't like this.
A knight should help. Our codex commands it.
Is that really necessary?
Getting to work. I smell a leak.
Wise choice.
My spirit's willing and how, but these damn things are killing me. Order! Life is mine now.
We must trust each other.
What? Oh, yes, I'm on it.
There's a time to reap, a time to sow, and a time to die. Praise be to the great sun!
You mad? Don't shake that!
Notice! All roads lead to Nilfgaard!
This I will hear.
Naturally. At once.
Scheiß! In Trade!
Yes?
Off to the front yet again.
They spoke the truth. You show no mercy. No mercy.
Amidst the fog and dense, gnarled forest, the battle ran its course. When the last sounds of fighting had died down, Meve was not sure who'd prevailed. Then soldiers came forth, fatigued and hurt, with smiles on their lips. She saw they were hers, and only then knew victory was hers as well. But this was no time to celebrate. She let everyone rest, then gave the order to resume the march. A great Nilfgaardian force pursued them. This most recent delay had allowed it to draw nearer.
Again and again and again.
Without hesitation.
Army's a waste of time for one like me.
There's a time to reap, a time to sow, and a time to die.
I'm done in a jiffy.
Watch your heads!
no other way.
My pain serves a purpose.
Her Majesty is exceptional.
As you command.
Aye. Should have listened to the old lady. This harvest, reaping black-clad heads.
Everything all right? Water is the poison.
Not supposed to be any smoke.
Wait, you're serious?
The unworthy shall be punished.
The Lyrian force had reached the very heart of Isgith. From every branch, vine, and shrub hung leeches and ticks by the dozen. Swollen with blood, their abdomens glistened, glowing red in the misty air. Air so putrid it set Meave's head to spinning. She paused at a moss-covered boulder, pressed her flushed forehead against its cool surface. Her soldiers passed by, pallid, filthy, drained. She wished to say something, lift their spirits. But instead a cough rattled her breast. Suddenly, splashes, all around Meve in the water, as if a rain of fist-sized drops had begun to fall. The Queen lifted her heavy gaze. Seemingly on command, ticks and leeches dropped into the warm, soupy waters, then clumsily wriggled off toward a dead alder grove. Meve knew at once what skulked behind the trees. Gurnikora, Isgith's mistress, Isgith's queen.
Weapons at the ready!
The Queen roared.
Close ranks!
The Lyrians quickly converged, formed a wall of shields, and crouched behind them. Terrified, they stared as a multitude of eyes flashed open midst the branches while revolting, muck-covered beasts rose from the gurgling waters around. Meve silently uttered a prayer. Hail Melitele, great mother, maiden and crone, ever have us in your care.
Everyone, rally to me!
Lose not hope. 'Tis always darkest before the dawn.
The Morrowind drink with our forefathers!
Aye.
I'm done in a jiffy.
Majesty! These parasites, they feed on her blood!
Enough chit-chat. Draw your weapon.
As ordered.
Her Majesty knows what she's doing.
How quickly the scales tip. Ghastly beasts can be slain. They can be overcome.
listen to the old lady.
Remember that unwarranted arrogance kills, slowly and insidiously.
Water is the poison.
Everyone, rally to me!
Lose not hope. 'Tis always darkest before the dawn.
Wanna know why I got my scar?
Wait, you're serious? Listen to the old lady.
Majesty! These parasites! They feed on her blood!
How quickly the scales tip.
As ordered.
These ghastly beasts can be slain. They can be overcome.
everyone! Rally to me!
Lose not hope. 'Tis always darkest before the dawn.
I drink with our forefathers!
Majesty! These parasites, they feed on her blood!
Water. That's the poison.
This harvest, reaping black-clad heads.
All right, that's no problem.
How quickly the scales tip.
One boat.
As ordered.
Ghastly beasts can be slain. They can be overcome.
Give me a time.
I believe it's dead.
Of the battle in Isgith, Meve remembered very little. It seemed a nightmare, its details a haze, the sensations very real. Amidst a thick fog, she fought in a frenzy, desperately hacking at the scourge that advanced from all sides. In the end, silence fell over the swamp. Its boiling waters lay calmed. The ticks and leeches were gone, while Guernicora lay among rotting leaves, covered in blood, unmoving. But still a fearsome sight.
Burn the corpse.
Rasped the queen.
And we move on.
The soldier's eyes darted about in a series of silent glances. It took Meve a moment to realize the difficulty. They still feared it. Though the monster's lifeless body lay on the ground, they dared not go near. Were she to repeat the order, they would carry it out. Yet she did not wish to force that on them. Swallowing her own revulsion, she walked up to Guernicora's corpse and set it alight. The air soon filled with the suffocating stench of burning hair and flesh. Sparks belched out as melting fat fell on flame. Until finally, nothing was left of the bloody mistress but scorched bone. The Lyrians resumed their march towards the banks of the Yaruga. They forced their weary legs to maintain a swift pace and stole no second glance at what they'd left behind. One day, the quartermaster approached with news to report. Alas, bad news.
Your Grace, our food stocks have near run out. And about villages, folk have naught to spare, not even to trade.
The Queen dispatched small groups of scouts. They were to scour the countryside for hunting camps, beekeepers, charcoal burners, any souls willing to trade food for coin or goods. The first scouts came back around dusk. The last 3 detachments returned not at all. At first, Meave suspected they'd fallen prey to monsters, the beastly or Nilfgaardian kind. Later, she learned the men had left naught of their belongings behind. She'd been soft-hearted toward deserters. This lot decided they, too, would give it a try. That night, Meave lay still but sleepless. Beneath thin covers, she was cold, hungry, irate. Towering alders grow thick in Isgith, their crowns weaving an expansive canopy that obscures the sky. Any sunbeams to slip through this twisted thicket scatter in the milky mist below. Thus the marsh abides in a state of perpetual twilight, wherein a sense of time and direction are easily lost. As the force moved along, a glow appeared in the trees. The Lyrians squinted, their mouths agape in wonder. An orb hung over the water, pulsating, humming. It circled the soldiers, darted off a distance, then hovered as if waiting.
A will-o'-the-wisp, that is,
whispered one of the footmen.
Believe it's keen to show us something.
Meave knew the wisp could prove treacherous, lead them into a trap. Nonetheless, she followed, though not entirely certain why. Her soldiers seemed eager, she sensed they approved. Yet she was also simply curious.
We follow it. Carefully. Weapons at the ready.
As the wisp led the Lyrians down a narrow, winding path, Meave surveyed her surroundings warily. Beads of sweat emerged upon her brow. But her fears, in the end, proved unfounded, for at the path's end, the troops found what appeared to be a caravan's remains. Its wagons, rot-eaten, half-buried in the bog, had sat there for decades, perhaps longer. Despite this, gilded panels and scraps of silver-threaded fabric showed they'd once been rather ornate. Inside the wagons, the soldiers discovered many steel crates. Rust-covered but intact, they contained truly dazzling treasures. Sacks bulging with gold coin, pearl-encrusted goblets, exotic velvets and silks in beads.
Blimey, the sheer amount. And here of all places.
A footman muttered under his breath. Meave quickly pieced it all together. She too had once ridden in such a caravan, splendid and laden with gold, when she'd left her home to marry. The rest of the story was not difficult to divine. This was a maiden's dowry. She and her retinue lost their way. Isgith proved their grave, unbeknownst to any other. The wisp circled Meave's party, blinked several times, then faded into thin air. The troops resumed their march, and all seemed in order. Seemed, for soon several footmen were discovered to be gone. Greed had been their ruin. They'd grabbed too much. The loot had weighed them down, and the marsh had embraced them.
could murder a pint.
I think you'll really like this one.
My spirit's willing and how, but these damn boots are
Coin
killing
never
me.
stinks, no matter how rank the pouch.
Tell me you jest.
There's a time to reap, a time to sow, and a time to die. Aye. Should have listened to me old lady.
I'll fight to my last breath.
Getting to work.
We got a job to do.
We must trust each other.
One boat's all I need.
Again and again and again. Army's a waste of time for one like me.
not, but faith guides me.
In evading Nilfgaard's banners, Meve led her force into Angren's wildest reaches. The foe could not attack the Lyrians there, yet hazards of another sort befell them. One day they reached a quagmire too vast and deep to ford. So the Queen summoned her engineer, Xavier, and called on him to build a makeshift bridge. By nightfall, he had drawn up plans.
We shall start by laying abutments, then drive piles into the mire.
The depth?
We dropped plumb lines. 4 L's.
Pursued by the plans, Meve did not see as Xavier slipped a line off his shoulder. By the time she felt it on her throat, she feared it might be too late.
I long awaited this moment, when we would be alone. You die now, Majesty, and with you dies Lyria's, Rivia's, the whole North's will to resist. Hail, Ketzer! Hail!
What died was the Nilfgaardian rallying cry in Xavier's throat. At the last instant, Gascon and Reynard rushed in to save the warrior queen, and thus proved their loyalty beyond any doubt.
Your Grace! Your Grace!
There was no answer, but Reynard could hear her breathe. Meve would live. It was several hours later when Meve finally came to. She opened her eyes, then Gascon and Reynard helped her to her feet.
Careful, Your Majesty.
I should have been more careful earlier. Damn it. If you two hadn't...
No need for words. You needn't mention it.
I couldn't disagree more. We're due for a long conversation. First of all, I owe you thanks. Second, my trust in you both has been heavily tarnished. I believe that goes without saying. Yet today you proved beyond all doubt that I can rely on you. So I thank you.
To serve under your banner, Majesty, it is an honor.
Likely I'd have put it differently, but Reynard seems to have the right idea.
Very well. We've reassured ourselves of admiration for one another enough. We've matters to which we must attend. I trust as I lay there dead to the world, you did not sit about with your thumbs up your bums. Have you at least learned why Xavier betrayed us, sided with the Empire?
In a manner of speaking, yes.
Your Grace, the rogue who lunged at you, in truth, was one Gwalter ep Rhinoch, a Nilfgaardian spy.
This discovery you made how?
We found in his toolbox a concealed compartment, letters inside. Though encrypted, we managed to decipher them. They were the Grey Rider for you to read.
The swine. An Imperial spy in my ranks this whole time. But to wait so long to strike, why?
He'd only just received the order. Another letter in the box, signed by General Eb Dahi, stated, "To Gwalter ep Luinoch, eliminate M at first opportunity."
Honourless bastards. They'll stop at nout.
Now, Meve, you'll gain nout by getting riled. No sense to it. This is good news, in fact.
Is that so?
Think. Ep Dahi had a spy in our midst. He knew our movements, had his eye on us, his finger on the pulse. He knew our plans, who we parlayed with, and yet he didn't order your assassination. For you posed no threat. Well, clearly so much changed. Congratulations! Nilfgaard fears you now.
And rightly so. Just a moment, that makes no sense. He saved my life in Mahakam, on the bridge.
He did, for he had to.
In one of the letters we found, Ep Dahi orders Gwalter to watch over Elder-in-Chief Hoog. The Scoia'tael in the mountains was sent there by Nilfgaard to recruit dwarves, but their commander, the Vixen, they feared she'd attack Bruver himself, something Eb Dahi wished to avoid.
Naturally. For someone else could seize power, someone not so neutrally inclined. Someone more likely to aid me, gods forbid. But we found him in the rubble at Rosberg, midst the ashes.
Precisely what placed him beyond suspicion.
We suspect Walter enlisted with the Edanians some years past, infiltrated that army.
He had a hand in Rosberg's defense. Then, when the time was right, he lent that same hand to its demise. Caused an explosion that tore a hole through its walls. It worked, but at a price. He suffered severe burns. If not for our medics, he'd have...
Stop. So it was not elves who brought about the fort's fall as he claimed?
A filthy lie to stoke the fires of racial hatred. To stir conflict and chaos and rage that would make the realm of Edirn waver and fall.
If we're to judge by Rayla's actions, he was rather successful.
Bastard. Yet even so badly hurt, in such pain, not for a moment did he drop his mummer's act.
I've heard much of Nilfgaardian spies, Your Grace. They're trained from childhood, face constant indoctrination. They do anything for the Emperor, anything and everything. As soon as Gwalter spotted a chance to join our ranks, to be at your side, he took it, exploited it ably.
To be brief, I've traitors all about me.
Your Grace, you resent our actions, I understand, but...
You, Willem, the Cad Caldwell, Gascon, Gabor, finally Xavier. Tell me how. How am I to trust anyone?
You can't. Amongst all the realms in the north, you're Nilfgaard's sole rival. One remaining threat. All other rulers either soundly defeated and enchained, or tails tween their legs, they've donned Nilfgaard's leash. The Blackclads will do all to destroy you, if not upon the field, then in secret, with an assassin and a quick, sharp blade.
What's left? Prayer. Melitele too is sure to turn and take Nilfgaardian gold sooner or later. Ugh. We've talked enough. We must form up. Move on.
Majesty, you ought to rest. You stand swaying. Your step can't be too sure.
Only my horse needs step true.
Maeve, you've just about had the life choked out of you. No time to play the hero.
I'm not Gascon. Quite the opposite, actually. These damn swamps, they terrify me. I wish to get the hell out and never, ever look back.
The Aruga lies near. I sent scouts ahead. They've secured a barge. We can sail to Red Lobendon.
Splendid. Sound the horns. We march.
Sandflies and mosquitoes blanketed Maeve's face and neck. She did not bother to brush them away. She'd been in Angren long enough to know more would come in their place.
Your Majesty.
Reynard called from behind.
Our scouts have returned. We've a large force of Blackclads on our tail, infantry and horsemen, and they draw nearer.
Blast!
Maeve wiped away the sweaty hair stuck to her brow.
What say you, Reynard? Shall we give them a fight?
We're but a few miles from the river, where a barge awaits. It makes no sense to battle now.
Though near her strength's end, Maeve stepped up her pace. She could not wait to stand upon a barge deck and leave Angren's infernal bogs behind. Alas, in place of the promised vessel, they found only severed moorings.
No! No, it can't be!
Suddenly, Maeve drove her fist into the trunk of the nearest tree. Fortunately, a soft and rotted one.
This isn't so!
Your Grace, have mercy. I stepped away but for a spell.
Croaked a scout, pale as a ghost.
And thieves jumped out the underbrush. Fell upon it. Whole band of them. A white-haired warrior. A minstrel. And a lass. What had a bow.
Well, is that all?
Interrupted Gascon.
No vampire sat upon an ass with no saddle? You cocked up, man, damn it. Maeve, what now?
The Queen turned back towards the swamp. Between the trees, she glimpsed a golden sun glimmering upon a banner.
We shall discuss that later,
said the Queen, drawing her sword.
provided we survive. Everyone, rally to me! Drive them back!
My spirit's willing and how, but these damn boots are killing me. Life is mine now. There's a time to reap, a time to sow, and a time to die.
Tell me you jest.
An army's a waste of time for one like me.
one bolt, my
Wise choice.
Feel any burning? See a local healer or wise woman.
Give me a target.
Order!
You sure about that?
Naturally. At once.
Life is mine now.
Her Majesty is exceptional.
Water is a poison.
Very gloire!
Yes. Destillat Seifel! Hurak!
Elherzer!
Yes. Destillat Seifel!
Nes Tedaku.
Your Grace, that was but their vanguard.
Near the battle's end, Meve faced a black-clad officer. Nimbly dodging his strike, she countered. The Queen's sword sank deep, the hilt rattling his breastplate. A rush of hot blood covered Meve's hands. The winged helmet toppled from the officer's head, exposing a sweaty face, gasping for breath.
Min! When?
Before the Queen stood a ruddy-haired boy with long eyelashes. He was Willem's age, perhaps a bit older. His body slumped, then disappeared beneath the malodorous foam atop the murky waters. Meve cast away her sword as if it had burned her hand.
Majesty, what is it? Are you hurt?
Reynard said, rushing to her side.
No, I'm not. It's fine. Give the order to march. With no barge, we must walk to Red Lobington along the riverbank.
Your Majesty, we must tend to the wounded. Use the rest of the day, I wager.
We ain't time enough for that.
Interjected Gascon.
That was but the vanguard sent in pursuit to slow us down. And even so, they outnumbered us 2 to 1. What happens when the main force arrives? We must flee. Now.
And abandon the injured, to bleed to death in the mud.
Alas, Reynard, yes. Unless you'd rather we stayed and died with them.
Gascon is right. Should Nilfgaard close the distance between us, we'll stand little chance.
Phew. At least you've the sense to...
But I would sooner perish than let my men rot in this accursed swamp. The medics will tend to all the wounded. Then, what will be, will be.
I tell you what'll be.
Snarled Gascon.
Ep Dahi'll take a butcher's hook and gut you. Then hang you from Lyria capital's walls. Yet, if this be your wish...
Meve waited for the medics to sew the last stitch, tie off the last bandage. Only then did she order her force to move out. At the column's end, upon stretchers, lay those without the strength to walk, consumed by fever, dazed or unconscious, dying. Fatigued and laden with the wounded, the Lyrians moved slow as molasses. Soon, Nilfgaard's forward elements had caught up. The Blackclads nipped at the Lyrians' tail with arrow volleys from the cover of trees and occasional forays by cavalry. They were in no hurry. They could torment their foes, weaken their spirit before the final clash. At long last, Meve spotted a dark form spanning the river's course, Red Lobington's bridge. Just a brief stretch more, and the Lyrians would find themselves beyond the invaders' grasp, free and clear of bogs, and the beasts that prowled them. Yet joy at this sight soon gave way to despair. The bridge was dark, black, from the horde of Nilfgaardians that held it. Clearly the Blackclads had divined the path of Meve's flight, and had cut off her last means of escape.
That's it. We're dead men. All! They'll cut us down to the last!
Meve shut her eyes, felt them sting with fatigue. She knew when she turned she could not show her men 1 ounce of fear, 1 pinch of doubt. She gripped her reins tightly. The leather dug into her skin, helping her hold back her tears. And when the Queen finally spoke, her voice was strong and boomed over the river's roar.
I know what you wish to hear.
The Queen began.
That the gods watch over us. That we'll come through the fray unharmed. That a friendly force is but moments away. Those would be lies. The truth is as bitter as it is undeniable. We stand cornered. cannot win this fight, cannot flee it. We can but choose how to die. Hanged from the boughs like common criminals, or weapons in hand like the fighters we are. I've made my choice. Time you made yours!
With that cry, Meave broke for the bridge toward a forest of spears into a deluge of arrows. She let the tears fall from her eyes. Tears of rage, fear, fatigue. It was not until she'd almost reached the enemy line that she dared glance backward. And she saw she was not alone.
Defend the Queen! Valyria!
This could hurt.
I warned you.
Give me a time.
We may die here today, but not on our hands and knees!
Our ballista, your command.
My boots got sand aplenty in them.
Go, pop up!
You'll never take me alive!
There's been a mistake. I'm no mage.
Don't shoot! Don't shoot! We're friend, not foe!
Damn it, just gets better and better.
To the bridge! Cut the way back to the bridge! Bolster the defense!
Ignarin Jarle Kronfeld.
What? Oh, yes, I'm on it.
I live to serve you.
Of course, as you wish, Master Queen.
One, two!
I fear not, for faith guides me.
Off to the front yet again.
Never had your kneecaps broken!
Asking me for help. Now that's smart.
Her Majesty is exceptional. Your Majesty, no!
I've lost my tooth. Foot of a whore.
So much anger and suffering. For what?
Wise choice.
Cursed traitors.
Elherzer!
You must sweat like a swine in that jacket.
Greetings. What is it?
Order!
Thing about slings, they hide well.
Life is mine now.
Watch your heads!
Answer we here. Oh, could murder a pint.
Yeah, yeah!
Fall back! Below it!
Meve was victorious on the banks of the Yaruga, but paid dearly for it. She lost a host of men and suffered harm herself. Yet she'd have been doomed, if not for a certain white-haired witcher. Meve longed to meet her mysterious savior and set off in search of him as soon as the battle dust had settled. She found him with the field surgeon and learned he was none other than the Witcher Geralt. Yes, incredible as it may seem, I've heard the tale from several and can vouch for its truth. At any rate, making note of the fact that Geralt's ears were ringing from a blow with a mace, Meve began immediately to interrogate him.
You for Faith Woodbridge?
Asked Meve, prodding him insistently. For a spell, Geralt worried his hearing was shot, but then realized the Queen had a lisp.
Worked out that way, I guess.
You guess?
Meve gagged on the blood in her mouth.
Someone hold me!
The Queen felt Geralt merited the highest honor, a knighthood. Another monarch might have delayed until a more opportune time, but not Meve. Meve delayed nothing.
Count Odo, you, sir, do the honors. Alas, I cannot because of my tooth.
For valor shown in battle, I, Meve, by the gods' grace, Queen of Lyria and Rivia, hereby do knight thee.
Geralt of place unknown. The bridge you felled with men from Rivia. Or so you guess. I guess it falls to me to dub thee Geralt of Rivia.
Meve had come home, though by a circuitous route, through Edern's smoking embers, Angren's beast-infested quagmires, cross Mahakam's snow-capped ridges. But she had returned, cloaked in legend, a mighty army in tow. The moment was weighty, and not to be tainted even by Geralt of Rivia's disappearance, or dare we say desertion. The hero of the battle for the bridge was now a sought man. Yet Meve was determined to take back her realm, with or without the Witcher's aid. The Lyrians' daring escapade behind enemy lines, and the triumphant victory at the battle for the bridge that crowned it, breathed new life into the North's war effort. Bands of resistance fighters now swarmed the conquered lands, while Kedwin and Redania, on the verge of swearing fealty to the Emperor, suddenly broke off talks with the invader. The Nilfgaardian war machine suddenly screeched to a halt, and the tide of war turned. Facing a united North, the invader had to withdraw the bulk of its forces from Lyria and Rivia. The way was cleared for Meve to retake her lost lands, defeat General Epdahi, and depose Willem. Or perhaps mother and son would not have to fight after all.
Milady, I come at King Willem's bidding.
Prince Willems.
His Majesty proposes a meeting. No arms, no escorts.
His Majesty? Whelp's barely tall enough to reach his mother's bosom. For shame!
Silence. Let him say his piece.
His Majesty, Willem I, wishes to discuss the possibility of a truce.
He wishes to surrender. Is that his aim?
Your words, not mine, Your Grace.
I've a few more on the tip of my tongue. But save them I shall for later.
Willem I's chosen the site for the parley.
Willem I will choose nought. If he wishes to speak, let him meet me midst the ruins of Devil's Tower.
Understood, Your Grace. I'll relay your terms.
Willem's emissary rode off, serenaded by hisses and jeers. Frightened by the clamour, his horse reared and kicked. The rider forced his mount to obey with cracks of his crop, striking many more times than was necessary.
The fool. Nag'll toss him off first chance it gets. Soon as he loosens the reins.
No great loss, I wager. But tell me, your thoughts on this reunion?
Sounds a ruse to me. But I know that won't stop you.
Whence this certainty?
Come now, Maeve. At the end of it all, he's your son. You still care about him, it's obvious.
Yes, I care dearly, Gascon. I care to capture him and try him for treason.
Maeve, the boy was manipulated.
It took no great push. Let's go. They await us.
Maeve rode out clad in golden plate, her banners waving proudly overhead. She no longer led a band of ragtag partisans, but an army able to fend off an empire and drive its soldiers from her lands.
Ma'am, I've something you must see without undue delay.
My soul rejoices, Your Grace, to see you at full health and in high spirits.
And why would I not be?
I heard you spoke with Prince Willem in Mahakam. An exchange, I've no doubt, fraught with difficulties, peppered with many a hurtful word.
Oh, none worse than those he spoke in Lyria when he ordered me placed in chains. What I felt then... Why, I dare say you'd have trouble imagining it.
I've no need to imagine, Your Majesty. This feeling I know. I don't oft speak of him, but I too have a son. Or more to the point, had a son. Siegfried, his name.
Passed on, has he?
No, Your Majesty. Worse. He's renounced me. When an illness affected his mother, my wife, Sophia, he implored me to earn coin for her betterment. But I had vowed long ago never to take payment from those I protect. I could not. It would be a stain on my honor. Apologies, Your Majesty. Of what concern to you can my petty troubles be?
They are, Ache. Believe me. And I thank you for confiding in me. I wish to discuss another matter, but it can wait. I shall come back later.
You need my help with anything? Anything at all. I've ideas aplenty.
Long you've travelled, Barnabas. The wonders you must have seen. Likely visited many exotic lands before you reached Mahakam.
Corvia, yes. Matina, yes. Nazir, Zericania, gods, yes. And Korath, even. I mean, such beauty there, though hot. Oh, dreadfully so. Horrible place to grow turnips, if you've ever a mind to try. Novigrad, lived there a spell as well, but I didn't much care for it.
Why ever not?
The hierarch, intractable man, banned one of my inventions, condemned it as unholy, vile, etc., etc. Decided he would burn both of us at the stake. As you can imagine, we had a difference of opinion in that regard.
Perhaps I shall regret this, but do tell. What was the thing you created exactly?
I knew you'd be interested. You've a curious mind, dear Queen. We're 2 peas of a feather. Quite the clever contraption it was. Made for a widow, wealthy but aching with longing. In her husband's absence, tormented by unfulfilled needs.
Stop right there. I knew I'd regret asking.
See, it had this special crank that when rotated...
Barnabas, no, enough.
As you command, Your Majesty. But if you ever get the urge to see it, I've the prototype still tucked away in my trunk.
Noted. But by the gods, please, let's change the subject. Time I attended to other matters.
Yes, you're still here. Off you go, then.
Arnulf, find a place at one of the tables. Have a drink. Meet my men.
Think there's been a failure to communicate, lass? I didn't join your army to meet men, but to meet death. A good, honourable death. Quicker you lead me to that, the better.
I wish not to pry, but why do you long for death?
For only death can cleanse me of shame. You must have heard what they call me. Arnulf the Patricide. A moniker I earned. Oh, I did.
To die by one's child's hand. A terrible fate. And it shall be mine as well if I lose this war.
But did you earn it? This fate?
What? Not always have I been just with Willem. I dismissed him, neglected him, but...
Neglected? Listen, lass. My da, he beat me. Till my skin turned blue and I chucked red bile. He'd drink and beat, drink and beat. My brother, Ulf, da clobbered him to death. My ma, she took her own life. Never met this son of yours. But I know yous a bit now, and I can say this. No kin of yours needs slaying.
I can't help but wonder, what does it signify? The tattoo on your head?
Ain't a tattoo. Carved these runes with a knife.
The method makes little difference. What do they mean?
Aim here. Message for enemy archers. Alas, don't seem they can read it. At least not from a distance. And when they get close, it's already too late for them.
So long, Arnulf.
Always good to see the Queen. How can I help you?
We shall return to this conversation later.
No skin off my back. Be seeing each other, Your Grace.
Yes? I must go. We'll speak later.
Neve, I must say it again, I'm sorry. And I thank you for forgiving me.
No need to say any more, Gascon.
But you've got to know.
Every time you bring it up, I'm tempted to change my mind. Now let's turn to the task at hand. It's time I attended to other matters. Farewell.
Your Grace, I wished once more to express my gratitude for your show of mercy.
I showed mercy, true, but felt much more. Anger, pain, now resentment. You hurt me, Reynard. Wounded me to the bloody core. I don't know what else to say on the matter, so let's not speak of it.
As you wish, Your Grace.
It's time I attended to other matters.